As I'm driving, I wanted to shoot this video and talk about the law of ratios and why it's so crucial to understand that simple law. So what that means is that anything that you do, there's going to be a ratio that's going to take place. And over time, you're going to discover that, whether it comes to making offers, calling and finding contractors, calling banks and working with banks, hard money lenders, deals that you get accepted, all of it is going to have a certain kind of ratio that's going to take place. And without understanding the law of ratios, then we can get ourselves into a place of having too high of expectations and expecting a unrealistic turnout. So when we understand that there's a law of ratios in everything that we do, we will get to a point of understanding and knowing that all of our efforts will not be in vain. It means with a certain amount of offers that we make, we're going to get a deal accepted. A certain amount of banks that we call, we're going to find a bank that's going to be investor friendly and is going to have the investor loans that we need. It's going to mean that it's going to take a certain amount of calls or a certain amount of effort, and we'll find that hard money lender or that private lender. Apologize for the bounciness. So when I started out, I remember reading a couple books that talked very heavily on that subject. So I went into the business having that understanding and knowing that there was going to be a certain law of ratios in place. And I started, we got our first couple properties under our belt, and I was calling these banks, and this was at the downturn of the market. It was at the bottom, and banks just weren't hardly taking on new clients at that time. But I remember this book telling me, that there's always a law of ratios, and that to keep calling, to keep making those calls, and to keep trying, and eventually you'll discover that. So I was calling these banks, and I literally called every single bank in the phone book. And I got to the very last one, or I should say even before I got to the last one, I was getting more and more annoyed that I wasn't getting the answers that I wanted. And I got to the very last bank to call, and I made that call, and sure enough, I landed this banker that said, we'd be happy to do, we can do a cash out refinance. We have some different investor loans in place that we can work with. And so I landed that banker, been working with him ever since, 6-7 years later. But that taught me that we can never be done just because we're not getting the answers that we're seeking. We have to keep calling, we have to keep trying, because eventually we're going to find the answer. It just takes a certain amount of effort and a certain amount of calls, a certain amount of action, and we will find it. So it's going to be the exact same thing. And you're actually going to find that the numbers are going to be very similar when you're calling real estate agents, bankers, lenders, contractors. What I have found is it's somewhere between about the 20 to 25 range. For about every 20 to 25 contacts I make, I find somebody that I want to work with. When it comes to offers, almost the same thing. Somewhere between the 20 to 25 range. For every 20 to 25 offers I make, I might get a deal accepted. Depending on the market, sometimes that's higher or lower. But if we quit so easily off of making 5 offers or 10 offers, or we call 10 realtors and none of them seem to want to work with us, or they all tell us that it won't work or that we can't do that, then we're never going to make it. We're never going to get there. So understand the law of ratios and know that when you're making those calls, when you're making those contacts, that you will find those people. It just takes enough calls and enough action and enough persistence to land the answers that you're looking for. All right. Hope you guys would like this video. If you did, feel free to share it and feel free to comment. I'd love to hear your comments and be happy to answer back. I will see you guys on the next video.